Next up, now that we've got these wheels mounted, we are going to replace our turn signals, or I guess running lights on this car. So we're gonna replace our ugly red running light housing with these really, really nice paint matched, just absolutely elegant turn signals. They actually were ceramic coated after they were painted too, so they look really good. They're paint matched to the car's paint, F8 green. So let's go ahead and get these things slapped up in place. Oh, such an intense install.
Oh.
Whoa, actually that's pretty cool. It just makes the rear end of these cars look a lot better, in my opinion. It's just like everything is painted rather than having bright blobs of color. I don't know, just me. Dodge, brother. All right, y'all ready for this crazy install? These front ones are a little bit more complicated to get. There's literally just a few push pins holding in a fender liner at the bottom, and that's it. And then you can just slip your hand up there and unplug them. Ooh. There we go. Oh, wow, that goes to show that you can get these out without taking anything out. I literally put everything back in that I took out and was able to literally somehow squeeze a really long pry bar inside of there. And I was looking through a screw hole and managed to get it loose. So hell yeah. Yeah, that looks pretty sick. These are honestly way harder to change than they should be. By the way, guys, I didn't put a GoPro on for this whole entire install because it's just like so simple that it's just not even worth it. Yeah, check it out. Now instead of a bright red or orange blob, it's got a nice painted surface. Hell yeah. That looks really good. This is a stock Hellcat emblem. Not bad, not bad. SRT, got the little Hellcat key. Okay, not bad. But we're gonna replace it with this RGB LED one. So if you guys have a Hellcat, this is the X-Lume SRT logo. It goes up in the front. Really simple to wire. It's supposed to take only a few minutes. And so we're gonna give it a shot real quick and see. Inside of the packaging, it's like, you've got your new emblem, you've got your wires. It goes into a remote control RGB device right here. Literally just put the wires in, tighten it down on the back, and you're done. Extremely simple. And then you've got a power and ground, which we're gonna wire one to probably the RG, or not the RGB, the DRLs or some running light or something like that. I'll look in a second. And then a ground. And that's like actually it. That is the entire install. Let's go ahead and pop the hood real quick and check it out.
Dang, dude, there's no emblem. How do I know you drive a Hellcat?
I'll be honest, Dodge just has some interesting engineering. Let's just press these on. Gosh, I'm just seeing where I'm about to have to route these wires through, but I found me a location. A low-keezy, if you will. Can we get a bird up? I miss bird ups, Arnold. Those were funny.
No one says them anymore.
All right, sorry. Bird up. Bird up. You're out of your f***ing mind if you think I'm not double-sided taping this bitch for now.
Double-sided sticky tape.
That's high quality, bro. I'm gonna be honest. That's a solid mount. That's right. All right, let's get it.
Ricer mods.
That's right. All right, we got the controller wired up, positive and ground. Positive, we're gonna tap into our DRL wire, which I'm gonna show you guys in just a second, and our ground is just gonna go to a normal ground. So check out in here real quick. So down, if you look by the windshield wiper reservoir, and then go down, you'll find this connector down here that's got a pink and a green and black striped wire. That pink wire is going to be the one that we're going to tap into with our red, our hot, and then in this case white is going to be ground, and we're going to run it straight to this ground right there. In this X-Lume kit, we got a very simple wire tap, so we'll feed it into the pink right there, and then we'll take this in and literally just thread it on, and that's it. All right. All right, guys, so we've got our controller wired in. We've got power and ground ran to it now. Next thing that I'm gonna do is go ahead and take our wire harness here, and I'm gonna actually try to tuck up our controller and everything underneath our radiator cover and zip tie it to the undershroud here, just to keep it all protected from heat and also from water and elements like that.
Oh, hell yeah, dude. Gamer car.
Hey, that's kind of dope. You gotta admit it's kind of cool. Okay.
Oh yeah, no it is. It's just very Ricer.
Nah. I feel like at least as long as it's on one solid color and not some color change bullshit,
need to have it strobing.
No, see that's like, no. All right, let me get this cleaned up real quick in the engine bay. Now that we got everything hooked up and working, we'll get it shut, we'll get it pulled out, and we'll see what everything that we just did to the car looks like all together. All wrapped up. Damn.
That's a big change.
Yeah, that thing looks pretty good.
That's a damn big change.
The RGBs aren't as bright during the day as I was thinking, but oh well, it is daytime.
Oh.
All right, guys, we've got our new Vossen wheels off of the Hellcat. We're getting ready to get started installing our IBOC, however you want to pronounce it, lowering springs. So for you Hellcat guys out there, this is probably what you're going to be installing if you're wanting to lower your car. Coilovers for these cars, pretty expensive. Bag setups, pretty expensive. Plus, not exactly 100% usable for what you may want to use the car for, any kind of racing or whatever. So lowering springs are typically people's go-to option for lowering the car. And on these cars, they really don't ride that bad with them. To help us out with this process, I've got this really nice spring compressor that I've had for quite a while. That compressor is a lot less dangerous than the ones that we've been using on this channel for a while. Here on the rear, the plan of attack is that we've got to lower down the exhaust a little bit. We've got to take out this lower bucket. Once we get that dropped out, this rear spring will drop out pretty easily. Up front, we've got to disconnect some stuff with our suspension. So we're going to disconnect the battery here in just a second. We've got to take out a few bolts holding in our strut assembly, and we've also got to take our upper control arm bolt out here. And after that, I think I can swing everything else out of the way. The hardest part about doing lowering springs, believe it or not, I think literally the most interesting part about this is that the strut tower bolts are underneath a lot of stuff. So like on this side, we've got this whole, I don't even know what this even is, to be honest with you, something evap related maybe. And then on this side, we've got like a coolant tank. We got to remove all that stuff to be able to get to our coil strut tower bolts. But after that, everything else should go pretty smooth and pretty easy. All right, guys, step number one, disconnect the battery. Woo! Let's start on the front first. Okay, so underneath here, we're gonna leave everything pretty much the exact same except for a few things. We've got our sway bar end link here that we're gonna remove. And lastly, we've got this one wire connector here that we're gonna also wanna remove. So I'm gonna pull back our fender liner and get that thing unplugged up there and then pull these wires all the way through. This is for our electronic suspension. So we'll get that hung out of the way. And then after that, we've got our upper control arm bolt, sway bar bolt, like I said, lower bolt on the shock, like I said. And then we've got our 3 up top. So our 3 up top, we're gonna have to use a, looks like, I don't know how, yeah, these are gonna be a little bit hard to get out. We got those 3 10mm pulled out of the top. So I'm gonna just push this thing out of the way for now. I'm gonna come over to this other side. And our coolant reservoir, we're gonna take out these tins as well. And then we can pick up this whole reservoir and move it out of the way. I'm gonna go ahead and remove our upper strut tower bolts here. Everything is still held in down below, so we don't have to worry about obviously our strut or anything falling out. But what you do want to remember is whenever we do go ahead and remove all the bolts down below, we need to remember that everything is already loose up here, so that is going to completely fall out, which being a one-man job here, that's the easiest way to do it. So, but you can leave these in and get your friend to undo them as you're holding them after you get everything taken out down below if you've got somebody here. So all the 10mm and everything is removed up top. All of our strut tower bolts are removed. So the next thing we can go ahead and do, I'm gonna remove first off our sway bar end link, then this bottom bolt holding in the shock. Then after that, I'm gonna do our upper control arm bolt. That should pop up and we should be able to slip the entire strut out. So let's see, that looks to be a 21. Sway bar end link, let's take this bolt out. So I'm gonna pull it out. And I'm gonna take our nut and I'm gonna go ahead and thread it back on here just so I don't forget where it goes. Now that that bolt is completely loose, I'm gonna go down to our very bottom bolt down here, which looks to be an 18, and we'll get that one pulled out next. There we go, got that out of the way as well. And now lastly, we've got our upper bolt up here, which looks to be an 18 as well. Okay, so now for this next part, you wanna leave your nut loose on here. See, I've got the nut just loosened up, but it's still on, because if you see, our upper control arm is not separate. I'm actually mind blown real fast, and we'll talk about this. Look at how tiny these upper control arms are. These look like they would be on a Civic. Holy hell, that's scary. Jeez, man, I've been 180 miles an hour in this car and that does not look very promising. Okay, don't hit a bump in these cars, Jesus Christ. I've heard people say that this is like the hardest part right here. A little bit of hammering later and I managed to get this thing loose. There we go. All right, so I've got everything loosened up, obviously dropped down. Next up, I'm gonna go ahead and take our strut and try to slip it out. There we go. I got our whole entire shock and strut assembly out of the car now. Next up, I'm gonna take our whole shock here and strut, and I'm gonna get it put up into our vise, and I'm gonna clamp down onto here pretty decent. You know what? Before I clamp down on this, I'm gonna use a microfiber just to keep our shock body okay. So before we start, I'm actually gonna make a mark here of which side. I'm gonna make a single silver mark right here, and I'm gonna try my best here to line this top hat back up where it was. We are gonna get it aligned anyways, so it's not really that detrimental, but mainly I just want to get this lined up as close to factory as possible just because I like doing stuff like that. We're gonna be rolling with these today. Grab this big bad boy. So we've got these Allen bolts that hold these particular cups onto this tool. We've got our spring compressor tool with the proper little attachments here that I need, and I've also got our impact with the 21. That is going to be what's going to be driving this. And then I've also got my little impact with an 18 on it, so that way we can take off our center nut once we have a lot of pressure put onto our spring here. So let's go ahead and put it up into place, and I'm going to tighten this thing down. Wow, that's pretty cool. Okay, all right, and that looks about as good as it's gonna get. So now I'm gonna take our 18. Maybe not. We could sit and crank on this with some hand tools and whatever, it just would take too long. So what I'm gonna do, I'm actually gonna put an 8 into my little ratchet here, and then we're going to tighten it. I'm holding our nut here while I'm tightening down the center shaft, and what that's going to do is it's going to actually loosen the nut off. Perfect. So get our nut out of the way. I'm going to clear a little spot on the bench here, and I'm going to take our whole entire assembly off just like so. And now very carefully I'm going to release pressure on our coil spring here. That was honestly the safest I have ever felt when installing these. That was pretty cool. Very nice. All right, so next up, we can go ahead and grab our new springs. I'm gonna grab a front spring first. These do not matter the side. It's just make sure you don't confuse front and rear, obviously. And now our new spring is gonna slide right on like so. And at the bottom, we've got these little spring isolators. Don't forget about the rubber little spring isolators. We'll take this and we'll go ahead, fit it into here like so, get it all lined up like it's wanting to. Make sure our spring isolators are back in the way they want. And now lastly, look for our silver mark that I made. And we're gonna line it up towards the top, just like so. And then next up, I'm gonna take our spring compressor. Got our old spring out of the way, so I'm gonna take our new spring here. Okay, so I'm just barely got to tighten down on this one. Now we can thread our 18 back in, little nut up here on top. I'm just gonna hand tighten this down. Then after that, we're gonna do the exact same thing. So I'm gonna put an 18 on here on the end, on our little nut. And then this time we're actually going to loosen this center section, and whenever we do, it's going to tighten down our nut. Now that is all the way tightened down. So next up, I'm going to make sure our spring isolators, everything is still in place good, which they are. So next up, I'm going to take our top line, line it back up about like that, and then loosen our spring compressor. And just like that, we've got our lowering spring installed onto our strut, ready to throw back into the car. Pretty neat, pretty straightforward and simple with that tool. I've never used a spring compressor like this before, but that was like, no kidding, the absolute easiest I have ever done one of these. Heck yeah. I want to make sure that everything's still sitting in the isolators like they're supposed to. Everything's still lined up perfect. Very nice. Hell yeah. That was like a flawless install. Let's do it. Next up, I'm gonna slip the strut straight in from the bottom. There we go. Now from the top. All right. Now we got our lower bolt. We gotta slip back into here. And now next up, I'm gonna take our upper control arm bolt here and slip it down into place just like so. Take our nut and we'll run a few threads onto there. That is not going anywhere. I can go ahead, take out our sway bar end link, put it back into the shock here, push it all the way through. I can go ahead and reroute our electronic dampening wire, whatever this is, back behind the fender liner. We're gonna plug it back in. Perfect, cool deal. So now all of our hardware is still loose, so I'm gonna go ahead and get started torquing all this stuff down. Just like that, our front is completed over here. I've got to still tighten up our 3 bolts up top, and then after that, I've just got to flip over to the other side and do the exact same process. And then I'm gonna go ahead and replace this little canister, whatever the hell this thing is, this little valve up top, set it back down, and put our 10 millimeters back in place to hold these in. With that being said, guys, our front corner is completely done. I'm gonna go ahead and repeat this process on the other side, and then we'll pick up on the rear. All right, guys, check it out. So over here on this side, we've also got our spring installed, got everything put back together, which means that the entire front end is finished. Next up, I'm gonna put the wheels back on the front, and then we're gonna get started on the back. All right, guys, for the rear, I got the car up in the air a little bit higher. I'm gonna grab a 3/8 extension along with a 13 millimeter socket, get something pretty long. And the first thing that we're gonna do, this is something that a lot of you guys probably aren't expecting, but you've actually got to drop the exhaust down a little bit. And the reason being, this lower spring bucket here, this lower control arm, this bolt is the only bolt I believe that we're going to have to remove. And then we'll drop down this bucket, tilt it out of the way, and slip the spring out. But to get our bolt out here all the way out, we've got to drop our exhaust down. So the first thing that we're going to do is go ahead and loosen up and disconnect our active exhaust. The next portion, our little mufflers back here, we're gonna go and take off our hangers, which are located right here near the tips up at the very top. They're 2 13s, so one right here, just like so. And then this side will hang and dang a little bit. And then over here, we're gonna take this side out. And just like that, our exhaust is free to wiggle around a little bit, and that's going to be just enough to be able to pull this down and get our bolt pulled out. So the next thing we need to do is go ahead and loosen our nut, slip our bolt out, and then get started prying down on this to get it to free up a little bit. But before we do that, don't do anything stupid, because you know that this spring in here has a lot of pressure bound up against it. If you get this bolt out, this lower bucket will fly down and smack you in the head or in the face and will cause some serious damage, I promise. So grab a trans jack and support underneath that bucket before you take your bolt out. If you're doing this on the ground, you can use a hydraulic jack to do the same thing, just like a floor jack. And there we go. We've got our trans jack with just a light amount of pressure up underneath our bucket here. I'm gonna go ahead and get our bolt pulled out. We're gonna lower down slowly this trans jack, and then we'll wiggle our spring out. Got a 15 on the bolt side. On the nut side, we've got an 18. Got our nut off of the back side. I'm gonna take our 15 wrench off, and then after that, I'm gonna grab a 15 millimeter socket. I'm gonna pull down on our tailpipe section here and back our bolt out. And whenever you guys see that the bolt gets backed out, you'll see this whole entire lower just drop down. Whew. Now that I've got that bolt out, you guys can see this lower section sprung down, which means that we're good to go ahead and lower our trans jack down just a little bit. All right, take some pressure off. Now you guys see that whole entire bucket is just going downwards. Got it loosened up, so I'm gonna put a pry bar through here, and I'm gonna use it just to pull down, so that way I can get our spring wiggled out, hopefully. All right, and there we go. I grab both of our new rear lowering springs here. I'll set this back. Make sure you have these the right side up, by the way. The writing needs to be upward, so you need to be able to read it whenever you hold it up. I meant to mention that. Don't do that. Don't flip these and install them upside down to where the majority of the spring is at the bottom. You want to have it like this, okay? All right, get these transferred over onto our new shocks. just like so. And we'll go ahead and feed these back up right where we took the other one out. And there we go. New rear lowering springs are installed. Heck yeah. We got this lower arm here back in place once we get the spring in. Next thing we'll do is lift up our trans jack, line this hole back up, put our bolt back in, and that was literally it. That's super, super simple. After that, I'm gonna do the exact same thing to the other side, put our exhaust back up, and then lower this thing on the ground and see what it looks like. It's only been like 3.5 hours doing this, 3 hours. Not that bad for a one person until now lowering spring job. I'm pretty sure that there's no way that this part anyone can do by themselves, but you've got to pull the exhaust down while also lining up this bolt like so, and then you got to feed it in just ever so perfectly, and then we're gonna let her eat a little bit. I got the bolt started. I'll move the trans jack out the way, and I'm probably gonna have to manipulate this by hand to get it to go back. Yeah, there we go. There we go. All right, you guys see now that we've got the bolt through. So now that the bolt's through, I'm gonna take our nut and put it back over here on this side, and then grab our 15 and our 18 and tighten this whole thing down. All right, and we can tighten down this bolt again. Yeah, the rears are so much easier than the fronts. I was actually kind of dreading the rears, but dang, this is not bad at all. Done. Heck yeah. We're done on this side, so we're gonna repeat the exact steps on the other side, finish it up, then we'll get the wheels put on, put it on the ground, and we'll show you guys what it looks like. So this is the first drive with the new springs, and actually it is fairly close to factory, but I can easily say so far that I like it a lot better, just simply because of the fact that it's a little bit more stiff and responsive. Like whenever we were filming the reveal for this car, we were doing a few slaloms and stuff like that, and it was just the worst feeling car that I've ever been in going around turns. And there was just so much body roll, but I mean, we haven't even really done anything, but just taking around this corner right there, you can really feel, okay, cool. But you can really feel the fact that it's got like a lot less body roll. Yeah, that's way less. That's pretty crazy actually.
Feels less like a boat.
Yeah, honestly, it definitely doesn't sway as much. Let's take this turn a little quick and see.
Alright.
Yeah, that is actually way better. Wow, yeah, holy hell, dude.
That's a new car.
So just something as simple as springs, that actually fixed like a lot of the complaints that I had about this car. And these aren't even coilovers. I mean, you could really go far with it and go like some really nice double adjustable coilovers and get them set up perfect. But for a quick little bolt-on spring kit from Ibach, that's like all that you could ask for really out of one of these cars. No crazy body roll at all. It actually wants to dive now and go. Wow, even like slow rolling from a stop, it is a lot more planted. Every mod that we do to this car just makes me more and more sad that we're just making it so perfect just to give away. Which is a great time to mention that if you go to itsjustsix.com right now, every dollar spent is gonna get you one automatic entry and win this 2020 Y-Body Challenger Hellcat plus 20 thousand smousin dollars. Wow, dude. Holy hell. This thing is so much more planted now.
There's no more review.
Yeah, like actually, previously whenever we used to do little mild accelerations, I didn't even like this car that much from a dig because of the fact that we would get on it and literally like the whole car would just, it just felt like a big blob on wheels. Like it felt like we were in a waterbed almost with 4 wheels underneath it and we're holding on to it. It's just like, wow, dude, that's pretty impressive. I'd say probably a week or 2 from now, it is gonna probably feel a lot different than it does at the moment once the springs get settled and everything. So I'll have to update you guys then, but at the current second, everything feels awesome. This is gonna be the first viewing of the car. I haven't even seen what it looks like. Does it look good outside?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
All right, let's see. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. 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 Wow, dude, that shit looks dang. Yeah. Damn.
Turning radius on the front is like literally like this close to hitting the front wall.
Really?
Yeah, it's close.
Look at the front and rear rake too. The front is tucking higher, which is crazy out of lowering springs. I'm gonna just say that. It pretty much is tuck and tire. And the craziest shit too is that the tires right now are cambered in a lot. So if you look from the back, you can see how they're just like folded in a bunch. I'd say they probably got like 1.5 degrees of camber right now on the front and rear. After that is done and we get to the line though, all of that camber is gonna get pulled out. So it is just gonna look stupid, disgusting nice. It is gonna look crazy. All right guys, there you have it. Just got done installing our lowering springs, new wheels and tires, our new logo, and all kinds of good stuff. This thing looks freaking crazy good.
Sick.
Lower,
I've never
new wheels.
seen that before. That's really cool.
Yeah.
And you can see in the daylight.
Yeah. Big note. Doesn't that thing look good with the wheels and
this
everything?
thing looks so much different, even though it like.
Yeah, I know. All right, guys, you know the drill. If you want to get entered in to win this car, go to itsjustsix.com right now, where every dollar spent is going to get you 1 automatic entries in to win right now. Go grab your favorite merch. You might be our winner, so make sure you go get entered, and we'll see you guys in the next video.
Yada, 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 I'll be talking to the camera. You ain't really popping, no, it's only propaganda. If they talking money on the phone, I need the answer. Give me green like they text me on a Samsung. You gon' get hit back, tit for tat, this a fact. Used to flip the pack before I switched to rap.